To begin our hearing, I'd ask that everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda this evening is the petition of Brian Butler and Siobhan Curran, 68 Arlington Road, seeking a special permit to raise and replace a detached garage.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. For the record, Attorney James Giuliano Law Group, 607 Main Street here in Woburn, on behalf of the applicant Brian Butler and Siobhan Curran. We are seeking a special permit pursuant to Section 7.3 of the Woburn zoning ordinance for the raising of the existing two-car garage with construction of a new car garage associated with the single-family property located at 68 Arlington Road. Currently, the property was purchased by my clients in 2015. It is a single-family residence that holds an accessory garage. Property is located in the R2 zoning district. The main house, single-family house, was built circa 1890 and sits on a lot of over 12,000 square feet, which is conforming to the zoning requirements for an R2 zoning district for a single family. The house is non-conforming relating to its lack of frontage and side setback. The house, as you may have seen from the application and the plans, is not being touched. It is not the subject of the application. It is just the garage. The garage as it sits today is a detached 22 by 22 foot garage. Total square footage is 484 square feet. Currently, as you can see from the plan, it sits 3.6 feet away from the side setback on the western side of the lot. It is made of concrete, wood, and an asphalt roof, and sits over 50 feet away from the rear lot line. So other than the side setback, it is conforming to zoning. What my client is proposing to do is, again, just regarding the garage, we are, again, proposing to raise the existing garage and to construct a 26 by 40 garage, providing 1,122 square feet of usable space that is only above 7 feet. So as it is proposed, there will be 1,040 square feet on the main garage level, that the garage obviously will be level to the driveway. Those ceilings will be 12 feet. And then there will be 82 square feet on the second level, essentially only storage space. If you do the math and figure 40 feet with only 82 square feet, there's probably only about a foot and a half of actual space that you can stand up that's 7 feet. It's not really much, so it is exclusively to be used for storage and can only be physically used for storage. We are alleviating the setback that was 3.6. We're moving it to 5.2 feet, which does alleviate that nonconformity on the side. And it does tuck the garage behind the house a little bit more, basically getting it away from street view. Design features, as I mentioned in my cover letter, we spent my client spent a lot of time with the architect doing a lot of working drawings to get this to really marry the existing architecture of the house, which is beautiful. Materials will be the same, colors will be the same. Sort of the facade will really mimic what is in the single-family home. Currently, the garage doesn't really effectuate that. The garage doors, just to get a concept, they will be 7 foot 6 inches in height, 9 feet in width, which is standard for residential garage doors. They won't be oversized by any means. The garage will be made, again, of wood, concrete to match the architectural style of the home. And again, as I mentioned, the ceiling height on the first floor, the main level, will be 12 feet. And the second floor will only be 80 square feet, which will only be above the 7 feet to the peak. So again, the highest point in that second story will be 7 feet. The garage is only to be intended for my client's personal use. Currently, my client has a couple of collector cars. He wants to be able to work on those and store them in the garage, as well as his primary vehicles that he and his family uses on a daily basis. The water and plumbing is going to be coming off of the single-family home, so no new meters or plumbing other than coming from the single family will be necessary. Water, heat, electricity, again, will be supplied from the single-family home. We are proposing water only for the use of a slop sink, obviously just to wash your hands, you get grease, things of that nature. So There will be no bathroom that will be on site. No habitation obviously will be used on the second floor or anywhere in the garage. And I will submit a list of conditions that we have, will be proposing relating to this garage in a second. As far as the compatibility with the neighborhood, I think if you look through Arlington Road specifically, you can go down and see that, 7 Arlington, 9 Arlington, 65, 69, 71 Arlington, they all have detached accessory garages. Most of them, or some of them, I should say, they expand the size of 30 by 30, 30 by 40 if you go down towards 7 and 9. So those are exceeding the square footage that we're proposing here tonight. And again, those also marry the architect of those houses as well. So again, we are not exacerbating any nonconformities. We're actually alleviating that one nonconformity with the side setback. Our lot coverage with the proposed structure will maintain below the 25%. Our landscaped area will still be above 50%. Architecturally, we're going to be, again, marrying the single-family home. And we were in front of City Council last night because obviously there was a special permit that was required over structures, accessory structures that are over 900 square feet. So we did meet with City Council, and we didn't have any issues that they brought up. So we do have a list of conditions based on our meeting last night, and I think just obviously having meetings in front of the board here, standard conditions that I would propose and sort of help out the board, that would read as follows, if I may submit those. I have 7 conditions that, again, would sort of be in line with what we've had in the past, obviously. But condition 1 is that there will be no business activity conducted out of or from the garage barn itself in perpetuity. There should be no rental of space in the garage barn in perpetuity. The accessory garage is for the use of the residents of the single-family dwelling only in perpetuity. There will be no conversion of the barn or a garage to residential use in perpetuity. Electrical service will be come from the main property to the detached structure. Power to be supplemented from the single-family residential structure. And again, building commissioner does not allow a second electrical service for an accessory structure in a residential zone. Number 6, any applicant that wishes to install water sewer, it must come from the existing service, again, from the single-family residence. Plumbing permits, everything must comply with CMR plumbing codes and local ordinances. And then lastly, the use of impact guns, which goes along with kind of the city ordinance with regards to noise and nuisances, will be allowed during the hours of 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week, and that just mimics the ordinances. One question that came up during a city council meeting for another property was, where you're working on cars, you have those compression guns. They don't make a ton of noise, but that was one of the questions. That's the subject of them. So instead of using a hand drill, it would be to get tires off. They have compression guns that are essentially coming from an air compressor. And it's a torque gun that allows the lug nuts to come off the cars, for example. So that being said, and based on everything we've submitted, we feel that the proposed use or proposed structure that we are considering is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood and matches exactly to what the neighborhood suggests, as well as this property. We ask that you approve this special permit here tonight.
Mr. Giuliano, you made a number of representations as to the dimensions
Yes.
of what I think you refer to, or on the plans it refers to the attic and what it's going to be used for, but there's no actual plan included for the attic?
So there is, if I... Yeah. So everything is sort of, Madam Chairwoman, like an aerial. A5 is the applicable one, as the architect mentioned. So,
Oh, all right, I see it.
yeah, yep. So everything should be on these sheets. Different cross sections, aerials, looking from underneath. I will say that a very good job was done with the architectural plans and the architecture. And a few renderings were thought of in this. So.
And so how many, so with the addition, and so so this board is seeing it seems like every month we have a petition that's got at least one shed dormer that runs the length of a roof line. And so here we have a significant shed dormer with 5 windows in it. And so I always say, I find it really hard to believe that someone's going to spend the money to build a shed dormer and install 5 windows, and it's just going to be used for storage. You made some comment about, well, there's only a limited amount of square footage that's, you know, over 7 feet. But I can't tell from looking at the plans, like what the actual usable square footage is up on that attic.
Yeah, so, and if, I will defer to Richard Leaf, because he has a much more command over the dimensions than I do, but if you expand 40 feet in 80 square feet, it leaves about 1.5 to 2 feet to walk the 40 feet at 7 feet. Almost impossible to house anybody there. It's almost like, it'd be like a coffin. The dormers are strictly for architectural purposes only. When Richard, the architect, thought of this with the 40-foot span, imagine just all roof line, all asphalt shingles. It doesn't give aesthetically a pleasing look as does dormers. It just gives that just architectural appreciation of the building itself. Again, I can have Mr. Leaf come up here and tell you exactly, but the square footage that dormer adds, even with 5 windows, is not a lot. It still won't even get you to basically standing height for somebody, like myself, 6 feet.
All right. I would like some additional information on the height of because as I'm looking at A5, it's 7.4 in the middle. What is it where the window is?
About 5'6".
And I'm sorry, could you just,
I'm gonna have him come up.
whoever, thank you.
I'm Richard Leaf from Leaf Design Associates, architect actually in Winchester, about 10 minutes from here. So so some of these are plus or minus dimensions because it depends on the structure and whether there's a ridge beam. But I think there's going to be something like 7'2", 7'4", right down the middle, and then the dormer, so if you're looking, so the key drawing to look at is A5. So that is the dormer, which you can see in the plan. That's in the upper left-hand corner of that drawing, and the roof slope of the dormer, it's likely at the top of the windows to be about 5'4". So I'm 5'10". So in other words, the wall where it transitions from wall to ceiling is kind of like at my eye height. So it's going to be, as I understand it from the owners, it's just a place for them to be able to store some stuff, just to give them some amount of. It's like an attic,
Sure, all right, and so what's the square footage that's,
There's about 80 square feet total on the attic where you're 7 feet or above.
all right, and what about 6 feet above?
I would say you probably add another 20 or 30 feet, maybe.
Okay.
You probably add the width of the dormer by maybe 1.5 feet. So maybe 6 feet and above adds another, I'd say 35 to 40.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then, Mr. Giuliano, on the proposed condition about the compression
Yes.
gun, is that what you called it?
Yes.
So I thought our noise ordinance, that doesn't allow construction activities on Sundays, right?
So this is a residence, right? So.
Yeah, with
but
a
there's no-
compression gun being used.
No, so it's not, this isn't considered construction. It's a personal use. It's not anything that's related to construction. It's basically, it's a wrench. It's a, think of it as like a DeWalt tool that any one of us can use at our house to take our wheels off of our house, our cars. That's all it is. It just use a air compressor.
Yeah.
So the noise levels are really, if you're in that garage, you're not going to hear it from the outside. I just added it because it's a belt and suspenders, and it's something that the city council requested on a few other matters, and we're not opposed to it. So that's why I added it as a condition.
Sure, and do you have any evidence for the statement that, the neighbor whose garage is only, 3 feet on the other side of the lot line is not going to be able to hear this?
Well, she may hear it during the hours of 9 and 7 if the doors are open. I don't have the decibel levels that this machine produces, but it's not a specific machine. It's just, like I said, you can get one of those pancake compressors. You can get, it makes pretty much the noise to give it some relevance as if you have like a plug-in or a battery-operated tire compressor to fill your tires up on your car. It's basically that level of noise. Only it's at shorter stints. So basically, you just kind of imagine filling up your tire at a second or 2 second instances. That's all the noise that we're talking about here. And again, sorry.
That's okay. And the representation is that the homeowner you made some comment about, he has the cars and he wants to work on them. Does any of your proposed conditions include the fact that it's only vehicles that the homeowner actually owns that will be worked on in this oversized garage?
The condition, yes, the condition, I'm just looking at here. Well, I guess the accessory garage is for use by the residents of the single-family dwelling only in perpetuity. And then coupled with, there shall be no rental of space. So we can add a condition, obviously, cars just owned by the residences of the single-family dwelling. That's totally fine, but the intent is there just to be worked on cars owned by.
Yeah, no, I get it,
Yeah.
but of course, then my next question's going to be, all right, so if the homeowner decides that, and the only reason I'm going down this, because I'm aware that there was, a few years ago, there was a gentleman who owns an auto body who came before the city council to get a special permit to work on his collection of cars and things that were part of his personal collection. And I think he was also going to fix them up for other people. So I want to be sure that in this residential zone, that the property owner doesn't say, oh, I'm gonna buy this car, this junked car for $500, and I'm gonna work on it in my garage, and then I'm gonna be able to sell it.
Yeah.
And then I'll buy another car, and I personally own it, so it's okay.
Right.
I can work on it in my garage. I just want to be sure this doesn't creep into something that starts to cross the line and it's actually a business use.
Yeah, understood. And I think that condition can be clarified in that condition 3, that basically the accessory garage to be used for residences of the single family, and I guess added on that there shall be no business.
Well, I mean,
Activity-
you
well, actually,
propose
I'm
no
sorry.
business activity,
Yeah, I have
but-
condition 1. No business activity shall be conducted out of or from the garage itself in perpetuity. So we can clean that up if you like to clarify it a little bit more, but I thought that sort of addresses that concern.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I think we should, I think that would be a good idea. Let me just see if I had any other notes. While I'm looking, let me ask, any members of the board have any questions?
I just had a couple, if I may. A1, it's the square footage summary off to the side, says garage 20 by 40. Is that a typo?
Yes, should say 26 by 40.
Okay.
I should, yeah, I think I submitted a revised plan. If I didn't, I have it here. It might have just gone to city council, but I do have a revised plan for the does everybody have A1 reading 20 by 40? It should be 26 by
Yeah.
40. It says 26 by 40?
Yeah.
Okay.
Down
But in the
s-
square footage summary,
In
it
the
says
summary off to the
20 by
side.
40.
Oh, the 1040 is incorrect, okay.
And
I see
then
what you're saying.
It says 800 square feet, so, I mean,
So I have
Oh, I
10,
see what you're saying,
I
okay.
have 1040 on mine.
Yeah.
With a total of 1122.
okay, so I must have an older set.
Okay.
Okay, so that was just one, and then, not to belabor the point, on the compression tool, is it currently in use on the property, or is it something that they envision doing in the future?
Do you currently use one?
It's basically what I use is just a battery operated wall
Okay,
impact wrench.
so it's currently in use?
This isn't something that's ongoing
Okay,
all the time, it's just,
all right, if it's,
I can't
Yeah.
take off. From
yeah, I mean, I imagine if it's being used now and there's no one here to object.
Yeah.
there will be no change in how properties being.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something that the council brought up that I thought it was good to add because it was, on their minds. So I just kind of thought that, we're not opposed to it, so why not add it?
The only reason I ask, I had a neighbor who had one of these, must have been straight off the Indy 500 racetrack. And you could hear that thing
Right,
Really? Yeah.
right. And we've all had the neighbor, and the same thing, I'm like, you know what, I've got that neighbor who always seems to
Yeah.
wait till cocktail hour on the weekend to
Well-
start mowing their lawn,
Right.
and it's not,
I
it's
mean,
really
if
not very
It's
neighborly.
battery operated, that's a
Yeah.
lot different than the type that I had experience with.
And and I guess the reason why the condition was put in is because it is allowed between certain hours, but I wanted to make it clear to the board members that we're doing it within the hours of the ordinance. We weren't gonna go outside
But
of
I don't
that.
think it's that was my question. I don't think it's within the hours of the ordinance. So because I'm looking at, so I was thinking of the noise ordinance, right?
Yep,
And I think the noise ordinance is 7 to 7 weekdays. It's shorter hours on Saturday, and there's no hours on Sunday unless there's some emergency, but I haven't gone,
I
so
have to
that's my
check.
memory.
yeah, I think that, I do
Haven't
too.
gone back to check.
I think, I will double check also. I mean, we can also amend it to say, pursuant to the ordinance. I think that's with business activities specifically, not residential uses.
Yeah, I mean, that may be, right?
I think
But
that
it-
is,
But
but-
but again, I don't know, it's like the landscaping companies start at 7 AM, and it's loud.
Yeah. Especially if you have late meetings and you try to sleep in
Right,
the next day.
yeah,
you
but
know.
anyway. Go ahead.
Forgive me, I was rattling my paperwork around when you were talking about these square footages. I think, well, you had mentioned 1,040 square feet, 1,122 square feet, but the law states nothing more than 900 square feet. I think you may have touched on it, but I missed
Yeah.
it. If you could just repeat what,
Of course, yeah. So in our ordinance, under 5.156, anything accessory dwelling or structure over 900 square feet requires a special permit in front of city council. So we were in front of city council last night, kept it open until the November meeting, just in case the board had, issues. We didn't want to, shoehorn ourselves into a situation. So we did go in front of them, we applied for a special permit, and we should hopefully close it out in November.
And no vote was taken at the city council
We
last night?
continued it last
Okay.
night, correct, because we
Right, 'cause
wanted to wait.
obviously, this board does not have the authority to let you construct a garage that's in excess of
Correct,
900 feet.
correct.
So.
Yeah, hence the two special permit applications. Yeah,
Quick
this is just, yeah, good.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Referring to the plot plan that Farrell did,
Yes,
the proposed peak is 101,
yep.
but the current one is the 93.3, so it's an 8-foot difference on that peak? Am I doing my math right?
Correct, yeah. And so what we do is, the peak is 101 from the slab. However, with the ordinance and the definition of height, you take the average grade of the garage, which in this case is 82.2, and then our peak is, from the average, is 19 feet. Now, under an accessory structure, it can't be any more than 20 feet from the average, and then obviously the mean roof line. So we didn't give you the mean roof line because we're below the 20-foot anyways at our average grade. So, but that is correct, yeah. Again, height is totally in conformity with the ordinance.
Let me ask, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for a special permit at 68 Arlington Road? Apparently not. How does the board wish to proceed?
Well, I would be voting for it. I don't know whether or not we should, because I don't think it's substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, but should these conditions be submitted to us in some way?
Yep, I mean, I
Yeah.
can read them for now, but I can supply Mr. Vincent with, or email the board tomorrow with, so you can put them in your decision, but I can read them for the record tonight. I think we went over them with, I think I read them into the record already. I don't know unless there's any amendments to anything that I've added.
Well, we need to figure out what the hours are.
So, yeah.
And maybe I'm the only one who cares. So,
I
does
mean,
anybody, are you fine with the proposed condition of that the compression gun being allowed 7 days a week, between the hours of 9 AM and 7 PM?
and I can help, Madam,
gotta-
sorry, through the chair too, I can just say we can just strike that to put pursuant to the ordinance and not leave it at those specific times. I think it is those specific times, if we just put,
Well, no, but again, but the ordinance, if we're talking about the same ordinance, because
Yep.
I'm thinking the noise ordinance that typically I think of, for construction activities, it's 7 AM. So I would not be in favor of saying that the compression,
Oh, got it.
whatever it is, you can start using it at 7 AM.
Just a question. We've certainly come across this in the past and talked about when there can be construction, when there cannot. But since this is some sort of use and it's in front of the city council, would it be better for them to make the judgment about the use of it, where pretty much dimensions, and I don't know if that's something.
Have you proposed the same conditions?
I have.
So we
I
can't
did-
have conflicting conditions.
No, I mean, and I think they're on board with the conditions I propose. Now, again, their next meeting is November 19th, and that's why I kept it open, so that we have some flexibility. But if we changed them here tonight or amended them tonight, I can certainly just resubmit them to the clerk tomorrow, and I don't think there's gonna be any issues with what we come up with here tonight.
I think the 9 AM is better than the 7 AM.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, so we condition it a little bit harsher than what the city council has. It goes back to the city council, and then they just decide that, you don't need that condition on there. You don't need that time for that.
Right.
So then would that supersede our condition?
No, I think it would still be a condition, it would just be tied into the special permit associated with our application here. And again, we're okay with all of these conditions, no matter how they're, which application they go with.
Yeah.
I think that's why it makes it pretty easy, no matter, we don't really care whose jurisdiction it is, so to speak. We're okay with all of them, so no matter which side of either the council or the Board of Appeals it falls on, it doesn't matter, we're gonna adhere to them anyway, so. So that being said, just so not to beat a dead horse, I guess if we put no earlier than 9 AM and then no later than per city ordinance, if that's acceptable to the
Yeah,
board.
okay, but then we deal with the days of the week issue.
Days of the week to be determined.
Yeah, because again, it's really hard for me so I don't have a battery-operated compression gun, right? I don't use any of these things. So when you say a compression gun, I'm thinking of the like the pit crew, and they're like, "Eh," right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. I don't want to be hearing that at my
No,
house.
it's
at
actually, it's
9
not
a.m. on a
that, but they
Sunday,
call it,
like,
it's a air gun,
right.
I guess, an air gun.
Yeah. So I always know when the compressor's being used at my house.
Hmm.
It's got that, and then it has the right.
Yep.
You know, and if it's in the garage, you know, but, and have you approached the,
Yes, so
Butters?
we have, and I can have Mr. Butler come up and testify, but we did speak to a bunch of the abutters. No one's, everyone's in favor of it. The next door neighbor who has the garage that's a couple feet away, she's elderly. So we had, Brian did speak to her, my client did speak to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's totally in favor of it, but, so we haven't had any issues with
all
any
right,
neighbor.
well, yeah, and again, I would assume if someone was opposed, they would have communicated, with the board in some way.
We didn't want to, we tried to get her here, but, or a letter, but if she was, it was challenging, so we
Yeah,
just,
no
we
worries.
let it be. And before I forget to, if we may, for the record, submit a revised sheet A1 that I have here with relating to the updated square foot, or the
Sure.
correct square footages, I
Yep.
should say. So again, I think just to clarify, I think well, except for that, maybe the last condition, I think they all have been read in, and I can certainly provide Mr. Vincent with, in the board with something in writing so that it makes it a little bit easier if there's a decision being written.
Sure, but I just want to understand, so
Sure.
in order for the board to take a vote, right, we heard you read the conditions, but no one's got them in, right, so,
Madam Chair, could we
Yep.
make a motion to, for instance, just to approve on said conditions? The draft decision will, by Mr. Giuliano, be sent to you, and you'll be able to breeze through that tomorrow or the next few days, whenever that is. I think we've done something like that before, haven't we? And,
I do have them in writing if I can, one of them is, you can have some of my notes, but I do have them in typed writing. One of the conditions I can handwrite, but I do have them here, I can submit.
or we can just, all right. So, the proposed garage will not be used for, no business will be conducted from the garage, right?
Correct.
All right. And I would assume business to mean that the garage is not going to be rented to
Correct.
anybody.
Correct.
Okay. Only the residents of the property will use the garage.
Correct.
You said something about residential use, too.
So, yeah, so there
Conversion.
shall be no conversion of the garage to residential use in perpetuity? So meaning no one could
Yep.
habitate up there. Number 5, additional electrical services, and I guess we could combine those, all in any utilities services to the detached garage shall be supplemented from the single-family residence only. Meaning no separate meters, any of that. They'll all come off
Yeah,
of the
well,
same.
I can't imagine anyone would want to pay to run separate lines out
Yep.
there anyway.
And then the last one would be compression air impact guns to be used no earlier than 9 a.m. and no later than pursuant to the city ordinance.
beg your pardon on that. The guns will not be used no later than 9 a.m.?
No earlier than 9 a.m.
Earlier, okay, thank you.
And no later than whatever's pursuant to the city ordinance. I think that's it, because I combined. two of them, so
All right, 7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Okay, so again,
Or we can just put per city ordinance. We don't have to say 7 days a
well, I
week.
mean, I don't want to, so people who own a garage, I think, should be allowed to work on their cars in their own garage on the weekends. I just think that, but again, my memory is that the Saturdays, it's like 3 PM or something like that.
Yeah. But again, I think, and again, it doesn't split hairs, I think that is just for business uses,
Sure.
if I remember correctly.
So are we going to follow that ordinance or not?
We will follow the ordinance as to the days of the week for this use, yes.
All right, but I think the ordinance does not allow construction activity. It's, again, it's,
Yeah.
I always think of it as the construction one.
Yep.
But again,
Yeah, I mean,
people who work only can do these
I
kinds
mean,
of
if the
things
board's
on the
okay with the
weekend.
7 days, I would,
Again, I feel like I'm the one that's got the issue with the Sundays.
well, I
but
don't think
so-
it's a construction
no.
activity. It's a hobby.
All right, well, let me ask, is the board fine with 9 AM to 7 PM, 7 days a week?
I am.
Okay,
Okay.
then that makes it easy.
Perfect.
Okay, all right, so those are the conditions. How does the board wish to proceed?
Make a motion to approve the special permit based on the conditions mentioned.
All right,
Second.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passed.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, you're very welcome.
Thanks.
The second item on the agenda this evening is the petition of 22 James Street LLC in connection with a special permit to alter or extend a pre-existing non-conforming structure. Welcome, Mr. Tarby.
Good evening. For the record, Attorney Joseph Tabby, Woburn and Redmond, 500 Unicorn Park Drive, in Woburn, here on behalf of the applicant. The petitioner is 22 James Street LLC, who's the owner of the property at 22 James Street. With me this evening is Rob Klein of 22 James Street LLC, and in the back of the room is Tony Rose of Classic Construction, who's the contractor for 22 James Street. Madam Chair, I would like to file a couple of documents I'll refer to during the presentation. And they are, one is a photo of the original home. The second is a photo of the home under rehab. And then I have two elevation plans. One was the elevation plan for which the building permit was issued, and the second elevation plan shows the additional work that we're seeking approval for. I figured it would be easy just to compare the two plans as we make our presentation. If I could submit these for the record.
Sure, I'll ask that the clerk collect those and distribute them.
Thank you.
Okay, so the,
Can you hold on just a second till
Sure.
the clerk gets back?
Move as fast as I used to, John.
Okay,
okay, we're good, okay. So the petitioner is seeking a special permit under section 7.3 of the zoning ordinance to allow for the construction of a third floor on the existing non-conforming two-family dwelling that's shown on the plans filed with this petition. The existing dwelling is non-conforming because it does not meet the required lot size, the street frontage, the front yard setback, and side yard setback. So with this petition, we submitted an area map, a site plan that shows the existing dwelling, elevation plans, a photo of the original dwelling, and a copy of a 2021 legal opinion issued by the former city solicitor Alan Callahan Doucette, discussing the definition of story and building height. The property, by being located in an R2 zoning district, requires the following in terms of dimensional regulations. So, minimum lot size, 15,000 square feet. This lot has 10,132 square feet. Street frontage, 125. This lot has 77.54 feet. Side yard setback, 20 is required. One side is setback 20.4, the other is setback 17. Rear yard setback requirement is 30 feet. This is setback 74.5 feet. And the front yard setback, 25 feet is required. And the existing front yard setback is at 4.7 feet. So according to records in the assessor's office and the Department of Inspectional Services, the existing two-family dwelling was constructed in 1880, and as a result of the current zoning regulations, it is non-conforming for in the areas that I just mentioned. So petitioner is seeking approval to add a third floor to the existing two-family dwelling. In reviewing this petition before I filed it with the building commissioner, he informed me that what is before you now, if this were a single-family home, would be allowed as a matter of right as a small-scale addition under 7.1.7 of the zoning ordinance. But since it's a two-family, it does require Section 7.3 approval. So the property will continue to be 2 units. Unit 1 consists of the basement level on the first floor. Unit 2 consists of the second floor and third floor. Each unit will contain 4 bedrooms with a master bathroom and 2 additional bathrooms, a living room and a kitchen. So when you take a look at the photo that we submitted showing the current work that's ongoing, this two-family home in an R2 district will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use. The existing height of the dwelling is 31.4 feet. The new height will be 34.9 feet, and that height has been certified and noted on the building permit by the building department. The existing dwelling has been an eyesore for many years. The rehab of this property will be an improvement to the neighborhood, along with increasing property values. This dwelling will not result in an increase in traffic congestion. It won't have an impact on water and sewer. It won't create any additional noise, odor, scale, character, visual effect will be consistent. The dwelling will remain as a two-family as it is now. So as you look at the 2 photos, there clearly is a major improvement. And when you look at the two floor plans, and if you have any specific questions, Mr. Charles is here to explain. So if you look at the top plan that's in red, okay, this was the original work that was allowed under the original building permit.
Mr. Tarby, I want to make sure that I'm looking at the right plan, so you said...
It's the one I just handed out.
All right, and am I looking at, are you referring to A-1.3?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, and this shows the work that was allowed under the original building permit. The next plan, which is A-1.1, shows the additional work that we're seeking approval of. And if you look at the elevation plans For example, the existing front elevation, the door in the middle of the original plan moves to the left. The area above the second floor on each side of the, well, actually on the left side of the front elevation gets squared off. And then as you look at the existing left elevation, where the roof line is, that gets squared off as well. The door remains where it is. And then as you look at the right elevation, the area to the right is squared off. And those are the additional changes. There's approximately 400 and some odd square feet of additional, it's less than 500 square feet of additional work that's being done to the house.
Oh, it's not that it's being done, it was already done,
Co-
right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
So the applicant is here seeking forgiveness because it did not get permission to square off all of the parts that you just went through.
That is correct. It worked within the confines of the roof line, worked within the confines of the existing footprint of the house.
How many, so the additional 400 square feet that was added,
Well, it's under 500 square feet. Maybe, Tony, could you come up here and help with this?
sure. I thought you said it was 400 plus square feet.
Correct. It's under 500
All
square
right,
feet.
so the 400 plus square feet that was added, is that now in bedrooms that didn't exist
No,
before?
I'm going to have Tony address that.
Hi,
Could you
Anthony-
identify yourself?
Anthony
for the record?
Rose, general contractor on this project. The additional square foot was added to the bedrooms that were already approved on the building permit. We just made them larger. And on the left side, the living room shows an office, so that office is no longer there. It's part of the living room on the left side of the house. Look at the floor plan, the older floor plan, you see an office.
All right, you want to refer me to a specific, do you have the plans in front of you? If you want to refer me to a specific page?
So in reference to the office, page A 1.7.
Okay, so that's where you bumped it up to
Yeah.
to make room for that office?
Yeah, the existing structure was just too small, and the roof was actually in bad shape, and it really wasn't holding the house together. So when we started the demo, that's when we noticed that, and we took out that wall. If you see that wall that has the door in it, on that 9'4" wall, that's just the wall we eliminated, and now that whole space is the living room.
Oh, so this plan isn't even, so this plan that says proposed second floor is not actually what was built? Or it's,
So,
so now it's a larger living room?
yeah, it's just a larger living room. We're gonna get rid of that office.
So these are the same plans from January?
In the matter of the second floor, yes. So the third floor is really the only changes. So when you were asking before about the bedrooms on,
All right, so what page should I look at for
Let me
the
get to that
the
third floor.
bigger bedrooms? proposed attic on A1-8.
I don't have 1-8. No, that's different. Wait,
What's that?
Have the other floor plan that shows. No, that's what's there now. Well, that's what was there when we started this construction project. Well, we're asking for forgiveness and,
A1-8.
yes,
Okay, so this is the plan as of January,
yep,
right? Is this
Yep.
the plan that was approved?
yes.
And so do you have anything that shows me what, like, do you have as-bills that show what's there now?
I should. You have them? We have them
All right, let me
electronically.
back up and ask a different question. So the original structure had 2 3-bedroom units?
Yes,
Okay. And what was approved in the building permit? Was it another
Four
3
bedrooms.
bedrooms or 4
four,
bedrooms?
and we're just making them larger. As you can see by this proposed, they're kind of tiny. When we started building it, we were kind of small.
How many bathrooms were approved under the building permit?
3, 2 common and 1 in the master.
For each unit?
For each unit, yeah.
Is
So-
that what's there now?
Yes, so one of the bathrooms is actually in a bedroom. You can only get to it from a bedroom. And the other 2 on each unit, you can get from common areas.
Okay, so, but the plans that we have from January don't actually show.
No, just this A1's not right, but I mean, we
All right,
have it
so
electronically if you want to pass
Part of this,
it
the
around.
challenge is going to be, if the board is inclined to grant you forgiveness, we do so based on plans, and we don't have any plans that show what's there now, other than these elevations.
I might be able to, if we can pause this and let the next person come up and come back, I can probably run down the street and grab them in time. I have them electronically on a phone,
Yeah,
but I know
okay,
everyone
right,
needs a
so
copy.
let me ask if any members of the board have any questions.
I think like you, I'm a little confused of what's going from what it is to what they're trying to do.
Not much, we just went over the back of the house. If you look at the right elevation, if you could look at that part. If you notice the back of the house, we went over that to make the bedrooms larger. A 1.1,
Which, A1 what?
A 1.1.
Of the ones that were handed out,
Today, okay.
yeah. They have like the reddish tone, or-
Dated September 24th.
yeah.
So if you look at the existing left or right elevation, well, let's look at the existing left elevation to try to get some clarity to it. If you look at the back porch, look above the back porch, you'll see the attic floor line. That little section above that was added.
I'm sorry, I need drawing numbers here. Is there
Sorry?
a drawing number there? A drawing number for the existing, do you have that?
We're looking at the September 24th plans, right?
Yeah, A
1.1.
1.1.
No, Danny, that one there, the top,
This one.
yeah, next
Well-
page.
You know what, it might be easier if you look at the actual photos. So if you compare the white building to the blue building, you'll see that in the back, that's like up and squared where it's not.
I guess
On this.
here's a question, then how does A 1.3 come into play with A 1.1?
So if you look at A
If you
1.3,
look at the existing left elevation on A 1.1, it's much higher than what you're proposing, right?
no, if you're looking at A 1.3, you look
Yeah.
at the left elevation, you know, if we're coming off the porch backwards, you see, so basically take that roof and bump it up another 7 feet.
Which is A .11.
Yes.
So that's what was proposed with the building department. That's what you built, and that's why you're in front of us, is that correct?
1.3 was proposed to the building department. 1.1 is what we're going for today.
On a building.
Yes,
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense, thank you.
you're welcome.
Oh,
I
see.
mean, so I'm gonna scold you now because it's incredible to me that you guys started building and were like, oh, hey, let's just square this off. I mean, the only time we've had something like this before was someone, it was years ago on Washington Street where I forget what the issue was with the roof, and the contractor said, oh, well, we have to do this, and you know what, we might as well just increase it 6 inches. And so they raised it 6 inches, and that thing was in front of us for like months. And now this is, hey, let's just add 7 feet onto this, even though it's not part of our approval. I am dumbfounded that nobody went back to the building department when you guys were on site and like whatever, so whatever the issue is, yeah, I mean, right, it makes sense, let's, right, I'm familiar with that, but, I mean, isn't the building permit supposed to mean something?
Of course it does. I have a lot of respect for that. I'm actually an alternate inspector in 3 towns, and I wasn't aware that in Woburn, for anything above a single family, that you could not do this. And I ask your forgiveness of all of you for that. I was not aware of that condition. I am aware of it now. I thought that you could just go on top of this thing like it can do in other towns and just amend the permit. And as long as we're, below the 35 feet and we're within the dimensional confines of the building and not doing any overhangs or anything like that, forgive me, I thought it was okay. And it's obviously not, and that's why we're here today.
All right, so and this is all done, were you subject to like a cease and desist or anything?
We have
Or-
not gotten a stop work order, no.
All right, so is this all done?
Mostly, yes.
Okay. All right, let me ask, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection?
Madam Chair, before
sorry. Go
before you
ahead.
do that, I would like to submit approximately six letters that are in favor of this petition. I'll just read one of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Are they all the same? Is it a
Generally.
typed form letter that
No,
people
no,
sign?
these are all individual letters, but
Okay.
I'll pick out the one I like best.
All right,
My name is Barbara Preston. My husband David and I have resided at 27 James Street for decades. We were in full support of the work Sean, Rob, and the general contractor Tony have been doing on our street this past year. Specifically, we are thrilled with the project at 22 James Street. The house at 22 James Street was dilapidated and an eyesore for many years. We are grateful for the beautiful product they are building to bring the property back to life. It's been delightful to watch the progress. We appreciate the value it's bringing to our neighborhood and in turn our home. Sean, Rob, Tony have been professional and courteous throughout the process. We are supportive of them in this product. Please let them finish what they started. Barbara Peterson, 27 James Street. Then there was a letter from a Patrick and Jean Coyne of 5 James Street in support. And again, these aren't form letters, they're all individual. Another one from David Doherty I don't think he left an address here. Deborah Sullivan of 1517 James Street. And there was a final letter from Rita Mealy of 49 Church Street in support. So I'd just like to submit those for the record.
Okay. You want to just start down there and we'll pass them around? Yeah. Oh, so, but Mr. Tarby, before you sit down, I mean, if there are as-built plans, they should be submitted.
As built, yeah.
Because how can I vote to approve this plan when it doesn't even, it's not real?
Well, the second plan that we have is consistent with the elevations.
Sure, but when the city does an inspection, they go inside.
Correct.
So, and, so if the applicant had understood the limitations that were represented by the building permit and had come to this board months ago, the board would have required real plans that show me what you're trying to do, because, again, that's a requirement for a special permit.
I think Tony indicated that if we wanted to pause this hearing, he would go get the plans and bring them back.
Oh, all right, so I haven't, I'll leave it to you, but if we get to the point of taking a vote, I'm not voting unless there's actual real plans, because I might have more questions when I see the real plans. Okay. All right, so let me ask, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for a special permit at 22 James Street? I hope I got that correct.
How you doing? I'm Randall Delata.
Hi.
I live at 24 Davis, which is right across, and now I got an extra level of the house with all the windows facing into my backyard. So it's not just raising the roof a little bit. Looks like there's a whole nother level up there. I worked all day and I had to come here and sit here because this guy's a contractor. He knows what he's doing, right? He knows he needs a permit, right? That's all I gotta say.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Is there anyone else who cares to be heard? Hi.
Good evening. My name's Michael Pandolf. I'm the owner of 35 Davis Street in Woburn. And I want to apologize to the board for my lack of knowledge of housing laws. But I grew up at 35 Davis Street all my life, and I'm very familiar with 22 James Street. I've been in that house numerous times as a kid growing up, and I realized that it is dated, and I am not opposed to anyone doing renovations to improve their property. But in my humble opinion, it is an eyesore to the neighborhood. And I have concerns about what the usage is going to be in that apartment building. It used to be 2 apartments. Now I'm not sure how many apartments it's going to be or how many rooms or bedrooms it'll be.
It's going to be 4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms?
Yes.
Each
And-
apartment.
Yeah, so it's a two-family. I'm sorry, this is not a setting and where people speak from the audience. If you want to address the board, you'll have an opportunity to come speak at the rail. It makes it really hard for me to understand the person who's speaking if other people in the audience are talking at the same time. So, thank you. It's 2 units. It was approved to increase from 2 3-bedroom units to 2 4-bedroom units. It is still 2 4-bedroom units, but with the expansion on one end of the house, the bedrooms now on the top story are larger than was originally approved. That's my understanding of what we're facing here.
Okay, well, my concern, I guess, too, will be parking issues. And also, I know there was 2 entrances to the, 3 entrances to that building prior to this construction. Now, I believe from just what I've viewed, there's 2 entrances. I think they removed the center entrance to that apartment building. But, like I said, my concern is I guess the usage of what this new apartment building's gonna be, and that's what it appears to be. So I'm kind of disappointed that, I know it's new, but I'm disappointed on what it looks like. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. Is there anybody else in the audience who cares to address the board?
Good evening, board members. Anthony Flowers, 29 James Street. I live diagonally opposite the property in question. I believe the the petitioner is misleading the board here as far as what they have done. They did not just add on to one section of the house. They completely took the existing roof completely off the house, went up with a 3rd story, then put a new roof over it. The entire house, not just what they're trying to lead the board to believe. So in my estimation, it's a 3.5-story dwelling now, which is very inconsistent with the rest of the properties on Davis Street, James Street, and Charles Street. It's a big loop that the streets tie in. Now, as far as the building permit, unless they have I have a copy of the building permit here. It was dated February 6, 2024. All it says here for that they could do was to interior remodel. That's all they were, with this permit. I don't know about any new permits, if they've been issued. I'm not aware of any. But it's been more than just interior. Raise the roof off. First, there was supposed to be just dormers, a dormer put on. I've been in the building industry for about 40 years now, most of my life. And I know when you can add a dormer, you work within the existing roof line. You don't remove the existing ridge, and you build out from that. I've been in that house many times. It belonged to the Frizengas, 3 old ladies. I used to go over there and help them out whenever I could. I've been in that attic, and when I heard they were going to do a dormer up there, I'm trying to visualize how are they going to put a dormer there and make living space up there, add 2 more bedrooms. I just couldn't do it. So obviously, they didn't do what the building permit said they were allowed to do. And I don't know who dropped the ball, why it got to this far, but I don't believe the building department is in fault here, because I don't believe any inspections have been done. Rough inspections are done after the rough electrical, rough plumbing, and then the building department comes in and does their rough inspection. So I'm not even sure they were even aware of what was going on by them removing the existing roof and making it a 3.5-story. So with that being said, like I said, it's very inconsistent with the rest of the neighborhood. There's all 2.5-story houses or less on James Street. And this one towers over everything at this point here. So I would like it known that I'm very much opposed to this and humbly ask the board to deny the permit. I also have a letter from, I can read it if the board would like, from a neighbor who couldn't be here tonight.
Sure, you can read it, but I'd also ask that you submit it for the record.
I can submit it also. This is from, I am a longtime property owner on James Street. He's the owner of 23 and 23 Rear James Street. I bought my house there over 44 years ago, and 12 years ago purchased the house next door to mine. James Street is a small, tight-knit neighborhood of homeowners. Most of the homes there are owner-occupied. We are people who take pride in our home ownership and maintain our homes. It is one of the older neighborhoods in Woburn. Many of the neighbors have been there for 30-plus years or longer. Everyone gets along and helps each other when needed. I feel it is necessary to keep and maintain the character of the neighborhood as it currently is. Every home in James Street is a two-story dwelling. A three-story building in this neighborhood would be out of character with the rest of the neighborhood. Signed, Robert Marcelino. He couldn't make it tonight. I'd like to
All right, I'm going to ask
send to the,
Mr. Vincent will
into
collect
the record,
that.
please. Thank you, sir.
And Gordon, I think we're all done with these. Anyone want to read it?
I've listened.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions, Madam Chair?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Flowers?
I do not for you, no.
All right, thank you for your
Thank you for your time.
Anyone else who cares to be heard in connection with this request for a special permit at 22 James Street?
Good evening. I am Paula and my husband James Mooney. We live at 31 James Street, which is exactly directly across from 22 James Street. We've been there 48 years. We have enjoyed the neighborhood as a family neighborhood. And looking across the street now is definitely a different view. And I don't know what the height requirements are. I don't know what the laws are. I do know the integrity of the neighborhood. And I'm not going to nitpick, but, you know, we all tried to do a little research, and I probably shouldn't be allowed to. You know, they said the footage of the lot was 10,000. According to the deeds, state of Massachusetts, it's 9,232.
Yeah, there's actually 3 different measurements on the plot plan.
Okay, so, like I said, that probably has nothing at all to do with it. I'm just here because I don't know the law. But I do know that, talking to different people that do know the law, they said that they were also supposed to get permission to change the number of bedrooms. It was a 3-bedroom. And so let me back up. So first of all, they came in and started tearing the house apart without any permits. And it was because the neighborhood kind of rallied and said, wait a minute, what's going on over there? That the building department came up and said, no, you need to get a permit. So this thing has been wrong from day one. Once the building permit was issued, we kind of backed off. We said, okay, it's in the city's hands, and it's the building department's job to make sure that what they approved is what happens. And I don't feel that that has happened. So we're disappointed. We're not in favor of 8 bedrooms. Now they've changed it. It was originally 5 bedrooms each. I don't know whether the office is gonna really be deleted or not. I don't know whether there's a closet. There always was a closet in that little side room.
I don't know either, because I don't
Yeah.
have the plans.
Right, exactly, exactly. So I guess that's our problem. Our problem is we don't exactly know. And they haven't gotten permission since day one, and I want it to stay a family neighborhood. I also have use questions. Why would somebody build 2 4 or 5 bedroom units? That's not really rentable. I know very, very few people that rent 5-bedroom apartments. So I have serious use issues. I mean, it's a tiny little street. They're probably 20 or 30 feet away from us, and it's a huge concern. And we're elderly. So that's all I have to say. I don't know if you have anything to say?
Well, my name's James Mooney. I take exception to some people saying that the building was essentially a derelict.
Right, eyesore. No, it
Eyesore.
wasn't.
It wasn't. Yes, it needed to do some inside work, yes, but the outside was fine, and there was nothing wrong with it. And now what we have is, oh yeah, it's new. I can't see the sun when it comes up in the morning. I used to be able to do that. I can't do that now. So that's unfortunate for us. And they went ahead with it. They didn't care about the neighborhood. None. No interest. In fact, one of the gentlemen,
Easy. No, stop.
well, anyways,
We don't
Thank
need
you.
to.
I get a
Yeah.
little excited. I get a
We're
little
upset.
excited, yes.
Understood.
Very upset.
Yeah, no.
And so I
We
won't
just
go
want the
on.
integrity of the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
to stay the same.
And if they're willing to put provisions in, wonderful.
That's fine, yeah.
We'd love provisions.
Like what?
Like that it was not going to be rented out as by the room, that it was rented by,
Oh, absolutely. I would absolutely support a condition.
Thank you.
That it not be
And
used
that's
as a
our
rooming
main-
house or a boarding
Major
house.
concern.
that's
Yeah,
our major.
that would be an illegal use in any event.
Okay.
And I'm quite sure that this neighborhood would alert the building department if you have any sense that it's being used as a boarding house.
Well, we would know because we're right across the
Right.
street. So if it's rented to 2 families,
That's
we
fine.
would love that. We would love.
Welcome 'em.
Welcome it. Like 2 or 3 bedroom, awesome. That means children would be there. We're old. We would love new life in the neighborhood. I just don't want it rented out by the room.
Yeah, understood.
So if that provision can be made, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your time.
Thank you for hearing us.
Is there anyone else in the audience who cares to be heard? Welcome.
Hi,
Hi,
I'm
I'm-
Pauline Chamberlain. My husband, Don.
Donald Chamberlain, and we live at 32 Davis Street, which is, we see the whole right-hand side of the house from our yard, from our driveway, from our bedroom window. And the construction of the house looks fine. I don't have a problem with that. The only thing I'm concerned about is I think that you just answered one of our questions is the type of use that it's going to be. We just like to see it be families, not like a boarding house or something like that, you know what I mean? The other thing is, my concern is, with that many bedrooms, how many cars there would be at the house. And so if there's 2 parking spaces, what do they do if they have guests? And the street is very narrow, so I don't know what they would do about,
They would park on
having
the
any
s-
kind of a
would park
guest
on
or
the street.
something. Pardon me?
They would park on the street.
Yes, they would park on the street, and like I said, it's very narrow there.
Narrow.
I think Paula would have a hard time getting out of her driveway, for one, if they're parking on the street. But anyway, that's our main concern. And we did think it was kind of strange that all of a sudden we saw them putting a 3rd story on the house, and we wondered, well, they didn't have time or anything to get a permit to do that, I don't think. But, we really didn't look into it at the time, but then we started thinking, this is a little ridiculous, but, so anyway, that's our concern. We just want to make sure that, about the use and then the parking.
And I do want to say, too, we've been there about 50 years on Davis Street, and it's an old neighborhood, but everybody has known everybody, and even when they move out, we're very friendly, and like Don said, we worry that it wouldn't be just
Sure.
you know, families, which
Let
we
me-
would love to have kids in the neighborhood.
All right.
So,
Do you know, has this house been vacant for some period of time? I should have asked one of the other neighbors.
Not that long, no.
no, as soon as they passed away,
So there was,
and
yeah,
then
there
it was
one.
sold right away.
Yeah.
But they've been there, they were there years and
For
years,
Zingers,
too.
yeah, they were there for many, many years.
Yes.
And so there was one left, one of the ladies left and still going, and I think she was in her 90s.
Yeah, she ended up, but
So-
the other thing too is like, you know, it was one thing to do the inside. Yes, it was older, an older type house, but, you know, it wasn't like, ooh, this is terrible, I can't stand walking by this, they don't take care of this. It wasn't like that at all. But, you know, and we were okay, you know, changing it and maybe putting new siding on or something like that. But we've both been sick the past year, and the more we saw go up, the higher it went, you know, we started to think,
what
what's
are they
going on
doing?
over there, you know, so.
Yeah,
That's our
well,
thing.
I don't know if you were here the whole evening, but every month now, we get applications with people putting shed dormers up on at least one, sometimes both sides of attics. Property is very valuable
Yep.
here in Woburn, so
Sure.
everyone wants to maximize their economic recovery.
Right.
Okay, do you have anything else that you want to share with the board?
That's it,
think
thank
that's
you.
All right, thank you for your time. Is there anybody else in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this petition at 22 James Street?
Yes, hi. Hi. My name is Deborah Chamberlain. Pauline and Don are my parents, so 32 Davis Street, I grew up there, and it's really a family home. I know the neighborhood, I know the house. I agree that it was not an eyesore. I don't know if anyone from the building department has been there to do any inspections. I'm in the construction industry myself. I thought it was very strange the way that it looked like it was going up and as to whether it was structurally sound. I think that if somebody, these people know what they're doing, obviously. Whoever bought the house and is flipping it and whoever's doing the construction. And I think that if they went against what the permit was, which said that it was going to be renovated on the interior, and it was not, that was not the only thing, then they should take the third floor off. I understand that, I mean, I can't break the law, ever. You know, I'd be too afraid to, but this is what, you know, I think that trying to get away with something and thinking, well, we'll deal with it later, and then what are they going to do at that point? I don't think that's right. I don't think it's fair to do to the neighborhood. I haven't seen three-story buildings other than dormers, or, you know, I know houses are built a lot taller now, but I haven't seen them go up in Woburn since I was very young. I understand there's a housing crunch and all of that, but how many, I mean, is there an occupancy limit in Woburn for say, a 5-bedroom apartment? Is there a limit?
My understanding is it's based on the definition of family, so if, like me, you have a bunch of kids, you're gonna have a lot of people living in your house.
Yeah, okay. I, too, have a concern with the parking. I understand what you're saying, they'll just park on the street. It's very tight there. Last night, I was trying to get into my parents' driveway, and I couldn't do it because my car wouldn't fit. And my parents' driveway, well, let's just say this, which they did not say. Ambulances need to go in there at times in that neighborhood, and I don't like the idea that that an ambulance or a fire truck can't get in there. And so it sounds like, I don't know because I haven't seen any updated plans, just like you haven't. It sounds like there are going to be 10 bedrooms, and unless those are all children.
There are 8 bedrooms.
Okay, 8 bedrooms. Unless those are 2 families with 2 parents and some school-age children, there are going to be a lot of cars added to the neighborhood. And so something needs to be done. So those are my concerns.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Anybody else care to be heard in connection with this petition at 22 James Street?
Hello, hi, I'm Anthony Hanlon of 9 James Street. I'm actually in support of the project. It looks very nice. They've done a lot of good work to that house that was there. That house wasn't as dilapidated, but anything updated obviously brings everyone's value in the neighborhood up as well. As far as parking goes, that street's already congested as it is, and I drive a relatively large truck, and I have no problems getting through that whole area. So,
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
If I may, Anthony Rose again. We were able to get you the plans. First, I wanted to extend again, one more time, an apology for my ignorance in not being aware of, not being able to square this up, or however we're phrasing this, when it's anything other than a single-family dwelling. So I want to apologize to the board, and I want to apologize to the neighbors for not being aware of that. I was under the impression that it was just an amend of the permit. So before anyone thinks I have some type of evil intent, it is not so. And I've made multiple attempts to talk to Mr. Flowers about this, and I've actually spoke to his son 20, 30 times, hours and hours on end. When I was aware of this, I was giving the zoning of the 35 feet height, which the building is, and the 3 stories, it's not 3.5, which the building is. And I've made multiple copies of the plans and offered them to the community. And I've tried to help everyone see what the zoning restrictions that I am held under and everyone else is held under. So I just wanted to let you guys know, I have no ill intent over this. It wasn't a malicious thing. I'm not building a rooming house. We're actually adding, 1 bedroom to each level that was there before. The parking spots are addressed on the plot plan. You can see there's 4 parking spots off-street. There was a wall in front of this structure that made the street a little tight, a little tiny 10-inch wall. If you look at the old picture of the front, that's gone. So, I mean, if you wanted to cheat and drive on the land a little bit, you can drive another couple of feet over to the right and get by a little better. It does get tighter in front of Mrs. Flowers' house because it's a ton of ledge. And I'm going to be a jerk and say it, if he's been construction in 90 years, let's blast that ledge and make the street wider. He's got the equipment to do it. So my intent is never to mislead anybody or do something wrong like I've been hearing, and I apologize if anyone's under that impression. I would never be that guy. I'm from Woburn. I love Woburn. I like this neighborhood. I grew up going to the donut kitchen right in front of this place. So I just wanted to extend my apologies again before anyone thought I was under malicious intent and just trying to blow up a building and thinking I can do what I want. Certainly not it.
Do you have any plans?
I do have new plans, and if anyone has any questions for me, almost everybody has my phone number. I've gone around giving my card. I'm free to give it out tonight.
Sure.
If anyone wants to talk to me about anything.
Okay, all right. So I do want to, I have conferred with the building commissioner on this, and I do want the members of the community who are here to know that there were 2 shed dormers approved for this in the permit that was issued. As I indicated, it's becoming very, very common that people are putting shed dormers up in the attic to maximize the space. The building commissioner did tell me that if this were a single-family house and you wanted to square it off, he would have approved that, no problem, as a small addition. But there are different rules for a 2-family.
Yep, so I wanted to clarify that same point, because one of the speakers misrepresented to the board that my client went in and removed the roof and put the dormers in. The plan that you have that's dated January 24th, 2024, that shows the 3rd floor, if you will, as...
You want to give me a site to whatever page you're looking at?
Yeah, it's A-1.3. That is the plan that was approved as part of the original building permit. No one tore the roof off without permission and put these dormers here. As the chair indicated, there was a building permit issued for the shed dormers. The other thing I want to make clear, This was a two-family property. It's going to remain as a two-family property. Each is going to have 4 bedrooms. The inspections that have been done to date, because everything is just studded inside, is that, one, the building department came out to the property and verified the height, okay, at 34.9. There also was an inspection on the rough plumbing. So it's not as if my client and his contractor have been running roughshod all over this house without anyone taking a look at it. So I wanted to clarify those points.
Yeah,
for
no,
the
I
board.
appreciate that, and actually, that reminds me, there was one other thing I did want to clarify for the neighborhood members who have taken the time to attend this hearing, that in the Woburn height, the height of a building is limited to 35 feet, or 2.5 stories, and we've had some significant guidance from the city solicitor on that issue, and we had received a legal opinion from city solicitor Ellen Callahan-Doucette that said basically as long as a house is under 35 feet, that's allowed in Woburn. And this structure is now 34.9 feet. So yeah, it's higher than it was before, but it in Woburn you can build a house that big. And we've had a number over the years, particularly where there's a change in elevation, where we just had one on Montvale that I voted, I thought it was the 4 stories, but it complied. It was, because of the slope, on the back of it, it looks like it's 4 stories, but it met the height requirement. So that's what the law is, and I meant to explain that to Mrs. Mooney when you came up, so. Okay. So these plans that have just been submitted are not, oh wait. So this is just the existing attic plan?
That's the existing attic, that's the 3rd floor that's in question.
Okay. Could you do me a favor? So one of these, all right, these need to be signed and stamped. I'm not going to accept these unless there's something that identifies them. So if you could just do that for me. And Mr. Tarby, while he's doing that, I anticipate, so my understanding is that this plan that's being submitted is intended to supplement A-18 of the plans that are dated January 24th.
Yes. And while he's initiating those plans, there was also comments made about there being an extra entrance to the house. Now, if you look at the existing photo, set of stairs here with the door, set of stairs here with the door. And here's the house in progress with the same.
I assume there's egress at the back as well in order to provide
Yeah.
a safe exit and, right, so. And where are those shown on the plans? Oh, I just found it.
Should be left side.
1-1.
I apologize for my chicken scratch. If the board will allow,
Worse than mine.
I will have this boarded and set up just like these are. You know, if you want to put that on a condition, I'll have this, you know, the border, the edge border put on this, just so tonight we know what we're looking at.
I'm sorry, I was looking at this.
I'm sorry.
The only plan that's changed is this one.
Yeah, the only plan change is the third floor, but I will have a nice, neat copy for you without my chicken scratch on the bottom.
All
that
right,
says
third floor
22 chains.
proposed to supplement A-18.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
How many bathrooms are there right now
Existing.
throughout the whole?
So there are 3 bathrooms in each unit, and one is a primary bathroom that is right off of the bedroom. So it's you know, its access is from a bedroom. So by the design, you can see it's not intended to be a rooming house in any way.
Yeah. But it was the permit for how many bathrooms?
Same.
Same?
We didn't add any more bathrooms
Okay.
at all.
Go ahead.
What about the basement?
I'm sorry, what about it?
What about the basement? How is the basement used?
So the basement is 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom for the first floor unit.
No.
The basement?
These plans are all very different.
Proposed basement, so I'm looking at Plan A1-5. Shows 2 bedrooms and a bathroom.
Yeah, it's not that anymore. We couldn't fit it. Yeah, it's not one bedroom. So that room, the room dividing the 2 bathrooms, that wall is not there. I can have that revised for you
I
as
don't
well.
know, what do you mean, the room?
So you see the wall dividing the 2 bedrooms, bedroom 1 and bedroom 2?
Yeah.
That is no longer there. It looks a lot bigger on the plans than it is in real life. So,
Too much change here. I'm so
just that one. So this basement here is just 1 bedroom now, it's not 2. Yeah, we moved the bedroom upstairs. It's not 2 bedrooms down there anymore, it's only one.
Okay, so
This
did you add a
basement,
bedroom?
which drawing are you referring to?
1-5.
1.5, yeah.
Yeah, 1.5. So, did you,
We don't have it, I didn't have it changed in this, and I apologize. I thought really the only problem we were addressing was the 3rd floor.
yeah, no, that's
I
fine.
mean, this is a common change that we do sometimes in building on the fly. You know, if we're gonna add a bedroom, then we have to get approval and pay a fee. I'm aware of that, but if we're taking one away or making one bigger, it's kind of a change in the opposite direction.
So you moved one from the basement all the way up to the 3rd floor.
To the,
So you did basically like the I'm gonna call it primary bedroom, bathroom. Okay, so it was 2, and now you have 3 up there. And 1 came from the basement.
yes. So they're both 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It's just the location of these 2 can't be in the basement, it's too small.
Well, so then, where's the 4th bedroom for the first unit?
For clarity, sure.
Rob Klein, 46 Fowler Street, 22 James Street, LLC. We moved 1 bedroom from the basement up to the first floor, I'm sorry. Then we created for that unit 1, which is basement and level 1,
Yeah.
a primary bedroom on the 2nd floor.
And is the 2nd floor cut in half, so half of it is for the first floor unit and half of it?
Not
is
so
for
much
the-
in half, but maybe like in a quarter or so.
All right, so hold on. All right, so now I'm looking at 1-7. Does this show me where the fourth bedroom is for the floor below?
So it will be bedroom 1, if
Okay.
you're looking at
So
1.7.
this is what I'm going to suggest at this point. I'm going to suggest that you all get some accurate as-built plans, and we continue this matter, because I don't think it's efficient anymore to keep doing this, because I will tell you that if you had come to me with the plans that, at least as I understand them now, right, and asked for a special permit, I would have voted in favor of it. But everything that we do, we tie to plans, and I have no idea what the other board members think. But if you get enough votes for the special permit, it's got to be tied to accurate plans.
I'll add some clarity to these plans for the next meeting.
Yeah. So, and let me just ask if there's
I've just had
any other feedback that the board wants to provide.
Well, number one, I totally agree with you. I think these drawings should be, as built. We know exactly what's going on everywhere. But I did want to, and I think we've touched on all of the legality of the height of the building, which is legal in Woburn. You're underneath the 35 feet. And I think our chairwoman said it correctly, whether it's 2.5 stories, 3 stories. It may not matter. I know that there's some, where the soil and the height of the foundation, if it's greater than 6 feet, it's considered a story, I believe, according to but in this case, it's not, so I think what you said on that is correct. I think I said a few years ago that somebody's gonna look at this and change it, because we're eventually
yeah.
gonna have, it's legal in Woburn, but, come on. Another thing too, which is legal in Woburn, as a two-family, I just wanted to point this out, that council, that you're allowed to have 2 parking spots per unit, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so 2 will be in the garage, 2 will be in front of the garage, in the driveway.
Yep.
Is that what I said? Okay. When you talked about entrances, as I looked at your picture there, are there entrances into the basement from the driveway?
There is a tiny door.
That's just a little half door,
It's like
three-quarter
this.
door?
It's this tall. It's about this tall, that door.
Okay,
It's not considered an egress to the basement. The basement has an egress window in it, which is the official egress to the basement.
okay.
In the front, that meets the egress requirements for an egress window. But that little side hopper door is more of a, you gotta change a water heater or something, kind of utility access.
And council, I want to ask, should we condition this heavily that this would remain as a two-family? You'd agree with that?
Yep.
Okay. I think that's all I have now, but I definitely agree about these drawings need to be cleared up.
Yeah,
We need
and
to know
can you
what
do
we're-
anything more on the parking? Because and I haven't said this yet, but when I first looked at this and I saw the 2 spots in the driveway, right next to the chain link fence, I mean, how usable is that?
It's very usable. You could actually put 4 cars outside that garage, especially today's cars. I could probably put 2 pickup trucks back to back before you even went in that garage. We got a 25-yard dumpster there, and I can park in front of it if I put up against the garage with my truck. But I know we have a regulation on the size of a parking space, what is it, like 9 feet or 12 feet or something like
Might
that?
not
So
be
that's
8 feet.
what Ed Farrell put on the plans, the regulation size per parking space. But I mean, if you put your nose on that garage door, you could fit 4 cars in that easily. And like I said, that little wall in the front is now gone, that little wall that had a bunch of rocks on top of it so no one could walk on it or sit on it and stuff like that. That was kind of encroaching on the street, and that's pushed back now too. So that section of the street has been improved because it's a little bit wider.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? I mean, so you're gonna have the stairs go right out to the street? That doesn't seem very safe.
That's how they were. If the council wants, I could turn them I could have them take a left, I guess, if you're looking at the front of the house, put a little landing and take a left so they're not as close to the street. It's a
Well, but
concern of
then-
mine too with snow plows and things like that. I get it. The other stairs were in the exact same place, verified by the building officials, because I had them come out and take a look at this before I'm aware of the storm shelter rules and things like that. Some of these rules are common, they go from town to town. Most of my work's in other towns, so some of them, statewide. So I had them come out and look at that to make sure we could replace like for like. But if the council prefers, or you think it's good for the neighborhood, no problem turning those stairs to the right. And, that'll kick them back probably 3 to 5 feet.
Well, I don't, so again, right, there's, kick him to the right would put him in the driveway.
I'm sorry, kick them to the left. So you gotta walk out of the house, take a right, and then you have to do-si-do around to get to the driveway. It's the only reason why we went straight out. But
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem very safe to me. But if that's allowed under the code, then that's allowed.
it's allowed. Personally, I don't like it. I'd rather see them kick to the side so there's a little bit more, it feels a little better when you're driving by. You don't feel like your mirror's gonna hit someone coming down the stairs.
Yep.
And for the plow, because they have to put a bollard there or make the first
Right.
dent cement or something.
And so that's all been cleared out. And so could there be parking on the other side as well?
I'm not sure. I think there is potential for parking on the other side, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back to the plot plan
I
and
think you should check
check
that
some of
out,
the
because
regulations.
I do, as much parking as you can provide on site.
Yep.
I think the better. I know you're only required to have 2 units, strike that, 2 parking spaces per unit, but we ask everybody to provide as much as they, especially in these really small, tight neighborhoods.
The more the merrier nowadays. We all have a car. We all used to have 1 car per house. I get it.
Just 2 questions, please. Yeah, I agree. I would prefer the steps off to the side as well. Did you say that the egress to the basement is a window in the front?
Yes. It's called an egress window. It's to escape or be rescued from.
Yeah. So if you look at A1-1.3, one of those windows?
I don't have that. I apologize.
No, not those little tiny well windows, those aren't.
Couldn't be.
So if you look at the blue picture of the front of the house, the actual photograph,
But I mean, is that reflected on the drawing?
no, the drawing reflects the old hopper windows that were in the basement.
Right,
Because-
those little-
So-
Because now there's a bedroom down there, we're required to have a legal egress.
Right, so that should be reflected on the drawing.
Make sure that's on.
when
If
we
you look at
come
the
back.
blue photo, you can see it on the left side.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so that will be on the new drawings, right?
Yes, of course.
And what else? Oh, parking. So you said 2 in the garage, 2 right behind those spots. Are those going to be assigned spaces? So,
Yes.
for example,
Of course,
one
yeah.
unit would get 1 in the garage, 1 directly behind
Yeah,
it?
and if you like that indicated as well on the plans,
All
that's
right,
easy.
Because it would be just chaos, where it's a narrow street, and it's probably going to be a parking issue.
Oh, I get it.
It would be pretty chaotic if it
Yep.
wasn't assigned.
And to address some of that, I mean, I know it's not a legit parking spot, but if we turn the stairs and when you used to park in front of this house, it was tough to get by. I mean, when we were doing the construction project, I made sure everybody's tires were rubbing the curb. It's less tough to get by because of the way the stairs are now. If I turn the stairs to the right, your guests you could park 2 cars there and still get by the street in better conditions than it is now, and that it was. Directly in front of this house.
That's all I had.
Yeah, I have concerns about the parking. As I look at it, I mean, I think it's 4 stories. Because if you include the basement, which is above ground, to me, a big concern is always the character of the neighborhood. And this is a very tight neighborhood. It's an old neighborhood. The streets are very narrow. Emergency vehicles have to get through. If you have 8 bedrooms, you're very likely to have at least 6 cars. So I think, you know, I have that, those are my concerns. How do you address, without, it seems to me that this is oversized for the neighborhood and it will impact the neighborhood in a negative way.
I can't speak on who would live there, but I mean, the families aren't as big, I mean, I'm one of 6, families are nowhere near that nowadays, so if we want to hypothetically speak on that, most people use bedrooms for offices. Matter of fact, it'll reflect on the new plans. One of the bedrooms is probably going to be used as an office because of where it is. And it was 3 bedrooms before, and adding another bedroom, I mean, sometimes husband and wife sleep in different rooms, you snore, I don't. I mean, there's a lot going on with that. I don't think, I mean, 4 parking spaces is what's required, so, and plus we're improving the front. I didn't want to come up and speak in favor for this, but I own 2 houses on James Street as well, and I'm concerned about everybody getting by and getting past through this. This little spot is not the bottleneck area of the neighborhood. The bottleneck area of the neighborhood is actually the next houses up, where the street just kind of bottlenecks a little bit, and then it squishes back out. And I certainly don't think that bottleneck up 20 feet is a deterrent as far as this project goes, you know?
Father Clancy, it looks like we may have some room to the left of the house to add some parking.
Yeah, I see that the chairwoman said there on the left hand as you face it, if you could put some spaces in there, that might take some pressure off the street.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the topography is, but it's 20.
I'm not sure yet.
It looks pretty, you know, there's a retaining wall on the other side, but it looks pretty flat
It
from
is.
what I can see on the picture.
I'm a very cooperative person, and I want the neighbors to be happy, and if I can get more parking around this thing, forgive my Boston accent for parking, but I will certainly do my best to see what I can do with that. No doubt. I'm concerned with it as well. We're working there. It's squished, man. It's tight, and I understand the frustration of the neighbors, and I'm sure they can't wait till we're done, so the construction trucks aren't there anymore, so my cube vans aren't out front, and ladder trucks and everything else that's going on, and we're trying to keep that at bay the best we can. A couple neighbors have mentioned that they got flats, and I offered to buy them tires. I'm trying to be accommodating to everybody, which is pretty much what I do all across the board, this project or anyone else's project. We do have a nail runner. We run across the project every
I was
night.
gonna say, yeah, why don't you just get the magnet out instead?
We do, and we run it across it every night, but maybe 1 or 2 escapes. They could come from our truck or a truck driving by, don't know. It's reasonable to say it's coming from us because we're doing construction across the street, and I'd like the public, you note that if anyone has trouble with that, please call me. Everyone has my phone number, and if you don't, just ask me for it.
Mr. Tarby, I actually had a question about the square footage, because the new plan that got submitted refers to Lot 1, A, 7,842 square feet. Was this 2 lots that were combined? Because there are 3 square footage calculations on this plan.
Right, I noticed that when we received that from Mr. Farrell. I will speak with him, because in the zoning table, he used 10,132 square feet.
Yeah.
Calculated, I'm guessing the 9232 came off some plan.
Yeah.
And where that 7,842 came from, I'm not sure, but I'll check on that.
All right, so is the applicant going to request a continuance?
Yes, we'd like a continuance to the next meeting in November.
Okay. You know, we have a form that Mr. Vincent will give. So while you're
21st.
doing that, yeah, when is it?
Is that right? Yeah.
20th?
20th, I'm sorry.
So we don't have the room on the 20th. The mayor has the room on the 20th. You can meet in the committee room if you'd like.
Okay, November 20th is going to be our next hearing in the committee room.
It's continuing.
Yes. Hold on, just, can you come approach, please?
I would like to apologize again to everybody for my ignorance, everybody in the room, as well as the board. Thank you.
I just just want to speak
Right.
in one thing and the other half, too. We've had a lot of construction done on our house. I have no problem with the construction vehicle at all. That's part of doing business. That's part of doing construction. I do have a problem with the usage, and as long as that's on the record, that it is not going to be single rentals per room,
Correct.
then I'm good. And as
All
far
right.
as the parking, when we all have company, we make it work.
Yeah.
So that's not an issue for me either.
All right,
But building usage, that's my issue.
all right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Mr. Flowers?
Apologize, Madam Chairperson, just like to repudiate something that Attorney Tarby said. I'm the one that brought up about how the existing roof was removed, and he said it wasn't. I don't know if you have this picture of the existing house, the way it was. I don't know if the board, you do. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious with that there, and this is a picture of what it is today. This was taken this morning. The existing roof line was at this point here. This roof was removed. Third story was added. A new roof put on. This is the existing structure as it looks today,
Yep.
okay?
All right. Do you want to submit that? Or are you sufficient with having shown it to us?
Whatever the board would like to do.
Actually, I think Mr. Vincent might kill me if I asked to take a trifold poster board into the record.
May I be so bold as ask is it possible to have the board have a on-site meeting? I would be happy to meet any board member there and do a walkthrough. I don't know if that's possible or not, if this board would allow that. Is it customary?
We have scheduled site visits in the past. We can't take, the site visit is just to look. We can't
Right.
accept evidence.
Correct. Just a
during
visual
site
thing.
visits.
I'd be happy to meet with the individual board members or as a group, and just to show exactly what's going on there.
Sure.
That's possible. I don't know
No,
if that's...
as you should know that there are a number of the members of our board who make it a point to go by and look at
Okay.
the property
Fine.
every, before every, and I can identify Mr. Clancy and Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ryan will send me pictures which are very helpful.
Okay, so if some of the board members have already driven by the site, then...
Sure.
Then it's, I just want to,
I appreciate that.
like I said, the roof was removed and a third story added, new roof put on, and no dormers were ever installed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your time.
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify for Mr. Flowers what was said, if you look at Mr. Vincent's notes. I said the roof was removed, but it was removed with a permit and shown on the January 24 plans. I never said the roof wasn't removed. Of course it was removed, but it was done under the building permit.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, we have the signed request for a continuance?
You do.
Madam Chair, we have one more.
Oh, okay, all right. Come on up if you feel compelled. Yes. That's why we have public hearings.
So, thank you, Mr. Clancy, for saying what I've always known in Woburn, which is that the neighborhoods matter. We're trying to keep the neighborhoods a certain way, which I guess is aesthetically pleasing, within the law. Regarding the parking, I am not so much concerned about the 4 spaces. You're saying that you've made more room in the front of the house so that it's easier to get by. What's going to happen when people have guests and when there are more cars than 4? They're going to park up where the log jam is or whatever, the bottleneck, and they're going to park in other areas. And I, for one, if I go there and cannot get by with my Suburban, then obviously a fire truck and an ambulance can't get by, and I'll be calling the police. And every single time.
Right, but again,
Also-
I don't know if the police are gonna do anything because it's a public street, and you
But
can
how can
park
you,
your
you
car in the
can't
public
block a
street.
road, you can't block a street so that someone can't get by, can you?
I can park on a public street.
No, but I'm saying, can you block the road so that no one can make passage on the road?
I guess we'll find out if there's an incident. So, I can tell you that if cars are parked on both sides of this street, and the Woburn Fire Department doesn't think that they can get a fire truck through, they'll ask for some relief, but it's a public street, and people can
I know,
park on the
well,
public street.
I mean, I think that the driving laws in Massachusetts say you can't park in a street, which is what people may do. I mean, I see it now with guests, you know?
Yeah.
But I also want to point out, what I think is disingenuous is Attorney Tarby, with all due respect.
Excuse me, could you direct
Oh,
all of your
yes, yes,
comments
sorry.
up to me?
Yes.
We're not gonna be going back and forth, so anything you want to share with the board, please direct to me.
Yes, Mr. Tarby did say that the roof was not removed, and the roof was removed. What they did was gut the whole interior and leave the siding. The roof was completely off. Secondly, I believe it is the builder who was just speaking, I don't know his name, but he said, well, you asked him how many bedrooms were in the basement, because it says on the plans that there are 2. And he said, well, we eliminated it. So I understand in construction, if you're gonna add, you gotta let somebody know. And I'm paraphrasing, but, we were removing one, so we figured, you're going the opposite way. It's not that big a deal. Nobody's gonna argue with that. But that is disingenuous. They took the bedroom from the basement and they moved it to the 3rd floor. So, and if you're gonna try to get away without getting a real permit that's legal or according to the ordinance, or according to the law, then who is to say that later on this is not gonna become a rooming house? I have been in that house many times. I cannot even imagine how they're fitting 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms on each floor.
When the plans are submitted, you'll have the opportunity to review them and see.
Okay, and again, if they can fit that and somebody wants to live there, that's fine. But it is a concern that it's going to be some kind of a rooming house.
Yeah, understood.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Oh, please, really? Look, we have another matter to get to, so I understand
Apologize.
emotions are high, but we really need to move on.
I would just request that if we're going to do a site visit, that I be present. I've offered a site
Sure.
visit, and I
Yeah.
offer an open house to the neighbors if they want to come through, and Mr. Flowers has been offered to come personally by
Sure.
writing to come into the house.
And you guys can all do that on your own time. The board has not voted to do a
Okay, I just wanted
site
to off that
visit,
in
but-
public.
but
Everybody's welcome to come on
I'm
and take a
sure
look at this
that-
place. We'll
I'm
see it's
sure
not a
the,
rooming house.
The neighbors would welcome the opportunity to review the plans before
Okay.
next month.
Thank you.
How does the board wish to proceed on the applicant's request for continuance?
Make a motion to continue to our next hearing in November.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so this matter is continued to, no, I already forgot the date.
November 20th.
Thank you, November 20th, when we will be in the committee room. Obviously, the sooner you can submit the plans, the easier it is for the board, so we can have a more efficient hearing next month. And I would urge the applicant to share the revised plans with the neighbors, and perhaps come to the board with a proposed set of conditions that also would make it a much more efficient hearing. Thank you, everyone, for your time. All right, the next item on our agenda is the petition of 20 Sonar Drive LLC, seeking a variance to allow for a rockfall barrier constructed of a berm, chain link fence, and Jersey barrier to the height of 11 feet 8 inches. Also a reduction of the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet at 20 to 30 Sonar Drive in Woburn.
Okay, Madam Chair, we did provide these electronically to
Yep,
clerk, but we do have hard copies if you
I think we
need them.
all have them,
Hard copies on their desk.
but thank you.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, so- Okay, for the record, Joseph Tabby, Woburn and Redmond, 500 Unicorn Park Drive in Woburn. Here on behalf of the petitioner, 20 Sonar Drive LLC. To my left is David Bamforth, who's the property owner and also president of Renscott. Petitioner has requested 2 variances from the Board of Appeals. One, to allow for a rockfall barrier to be located 5 feet from the property line. And 2, to allow for a increase in height from 6 feet to 11 feet 8 inches. The requested variances are shown on the plan that we filed with the petition. The property is located in an industrial general zoning district. Renscott operates its business there. It's a manufacturing company that produces prototype components with a focus on supporting advanced industries, including space flight, including rockets, space robotics, satellites, defense, and semiconductors. So the presentation we're going to do tonight is David is going to present a PowerPoint that will give you an overview of the property, the steps we've taken to try to address the rockfall problem, photos of various rockfall events, and then pictures showing the topography of the land that resulted in the filing of this variance request. So, and then I'll review the reasons why we feel the variances should be granted. So I'll turn it over to David.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm David Bamforth of 20 Sonar Drive LLC at 20 Sonar Drive in Woburn. Yeah, so I can quickly go through this detail. First, we have just a locus map just showing where the property is. It's in South Woburn near the Winchester border in the smaller business park that's down there. And then this is a view of the property. So it's 2 buildings on one combined lot. At the end of the road on Sonar Drive, at the end of the cul-de-sac there. One of the unique things about this property that I'm sure you saw in the original photo is we are in what used to be a quarry, so have a huge cliff behind us, which is kind of the reason for this discussion. Here's a little bit of an overview as to what's happened. We've been exploring a bunch of different rockfall barrier options. Initially, we had made the mistake of putting shipping containers in as a rockfall barrier, and then found out that those weren't allowed. So had them removed this summer. We've explored a bunch of different options. We currently have some like draped mesh on a section of the cliff near the existing building, where the cliff is tightest to the building. So we looked at that for the rest of the cliff, and then we explored other options like battered piles and other netting solutions and retainment solutions. And we've had several meetings with different members of the town. Since March of this year, we've removed those storage containers during the summer, which took us a little while to find a way to get rid of them and get them off site, but we're able to get them off site. And then we onboarded a surveyor and civil engineer to assist with reassessing other options. We also updated site plan and plot plan with new rockfall barrier and submitted variance application on September 26th.
Who owns the cliff?
The cliff is an unusual, kind of weird no man's land. There's a residential property that runs the entire length of the cliff that's zoned residential and is in the name of Rob Witten Sr., who is deceased. So it's kind of this weird gray area.
Right, you don't own the cliff?
I do not, no.
Okay.
Well, a portion of the property line goes to the base of the cliff.
Yeah, correct, correct.
So the mesh that you had tried, is that on your property, or, I'm just trying to...
Yeah, that was on this kind of no man's land property that's zoned residential but owned by someone.
Title is under the Witten family, Charles Witten Estates.
Okay. And the, have you, so you mentioned you hired a surveyor and a civil engineer?
Yep.
Has any geotechnical engineer assessed the cliff and the rockfall and given any advice?
Yep, certainly. So multiple of the options that we looked at with a contractor called GSI. They were the ones who installed the mesh. They are probably the global expert in rockfall mitigation, and so they internally have their own geotechnical engineers and rockfall engineers. When we installed the drape mesh, they actually provided a stamped engineered drawing of that mesh that was installed, and we looked at them at some of the solutions for the remainder of the cliff.
And so did the, I assume you're here because the mesh didn't work?
Not quite. The mesh is actually working very well. It only covers a section of the cliff closest to the building on the right here. You can see kind of at the corner of the property line, the cliff becomes quite close to the building. And so in that section, we put about 100-foot section of mesh to protect that area.
Number 30?
Yep, behind number 30. So we have about 100-foot section of mesh there, but the back property line is approximately 400 feet in total. So the other 300 feet that goes from the lot line corner of 10 sonar and our property to where the rockfall meshes is where we're looking to also provide additional protection for cars that are parked in that parking lot. Yeah, this is some examples of some of the rockfall that we have seen in that area. This is part of the reason why we are now looking at doing this, is previously we hadn't seen much rockfall activity.
All right, can I hold on? You say that area. You're referring to that area that does not have any of the mesh?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
So we've had a couple of
Can I
rock...
interrupt you for a second, Mr.
Yes.
Danforth?
Oh, he's going to go clear out the rotunda.
So I just make one.
Hold on, we don't have anyone taking notes.
So many jobs.
Everybody smiling out there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Douglas LeBase there.
So as David is continuing, I just wanted to make a comment that the rear portion, when you get to the plan that shows the berm, a portion of the berm in the rear lot line cuts into the bottom of the cliff. So our property line does include a portion of the cliff at the very bottom. The rest of it is owned by the Whitten estate.
Okay.
So there is cliff on our property, so.
Yeah, and that somewhat derives from this entire development, including the houses above the hill, and then the whole business park was owned by the Whitten family, and they were the ones that developed it. And so this is a property that is left over that was never sold because it doesn't actually have any place to put a house on it.
Well,
It
yeah,
was-
because it's on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, so it was really just put there as a buffer so nobody owns liability, and then the descendants of the owner of it haven't really claimed ownership of it either because they have no benefit in doing so either. So it's kind of this weird gray area.
And this property was where the Whitten family ran a good portion of their construction business, and then David bought the properties from them.
Yeah, so just kind of going back to some of the issues and what caused us to want to do this rockfall mitigation and just make sure that we are making sure that our property is safe for everyone on it.
Can you go back to that slide, please?
Yep.
All right, so the Jersey barriers that looked like, it looks like the rocks fell and pushed the Jersey barriers forward.
Correct.
Okay, when was that?
That was, it would have been like early this year, February of this year, I believe.
2024? I'm sorry, what did you say?
Wait, and those
March.
The rockfall event on March 3rd was mostly contained by the Jersey barriers?
Yeah.
Those are on the bottom of the ground, no berm.
Oh, sorry, it said right there above it. I'm like breaking my neck turning around. So is that the picture with the Jersey barriers, is that the kind of most egregious example of the rockfall?
Certainly.
Right, and those Jersey barriers are flat on the ground. We'll get into our proposed mitigation in
So
a second.
there's no steel?
No, there's no berm and there's no steel
They're just
fence.
sitting there, okay.
Yeah, they weren't even tied together either.
Yeah.
So they did actually do a decent job of retaining it, but we'd definitely like to put an even more sound solution in. Kind of behind this photo were the shipping containers, but the shipping containers didn't run the entire property length. And then these are just some other existing conditions. So you can see the shipping containers have been removed. You can't really see it great in this.
I don't know that it matters. Where were the shipping containers?
If you can see my mouse, the shipping containers extended from about here where those barriers were along the length here at the bottom of the cliff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Or in this image from about
And were they in the parking areas or in front of the parking?
They were as far outside of the parking areas as we could make them. They did overlap a little bit, but did not really affect the number of parking spots that we had.
Right.
And then actually this is a great photo to show it. Like you can't actually see the mesh, but the mesh exists kind of along this line and to the right.
Okay.
So it's really protecting this area behind the building in the corner of the building and extends kind of past where this photo is. This is some details just on the variance that we're looking for. And we have the slide again at the end for discussions. And then this is what we are proposing. So there's kind of 3 images for this. This is a broader view of the rockfall, soil berm, and Jersey barrier. This is a more detailed view of where it will be. And then this is like a side profile of the barrier. So in the areas where it'll be further away from the cliff, like further to the left of the plan here, and then there's an area in the center of the berm where the berm will be kind of up against the bottom of the cliff. That's what this left view is for. So this shows kind of the 2 side profiles of the berm that we're proposing. This will now run basically the length of the entire property and create a swale between the cliff edge and the berm to help better catch rocks. And then at the top of the berm, we'll have a Jersey barrier and a fence to help catch any smaller flying debris that might happen from rocks falling and hitting each other. This should do a great job of both capturing the larger rockfall risk and then any kind of smaller debris, like the little rock that we saw hit that window.
And who actually says that?
We had worked.
Who has said that this design is actually going to work?
We'd worked with the geotechnical engineers, and they had done a significant number of like rockfall studies, mapping the path of the rockfall, and then we worked with a civil engineer to draw up the drawings. And based on what we saw from the existing rockfall barriers that were there, that definitely worked to retain the rocks, but showed that something even more robust might be helpful.
So just through the chair, those engineers simply said that come up with 11'6" instead of 22'6" would be the best for you? Is that how that works?
Yeah, the exact height. I think I'm not actually sure exactly how it was determined. I think it was just determined that a 5-foot deep swale would do a good job of capturing any rockfall.
Right, and just, Mr. Parrish, and just keep in mind too, on the cliff side of this barrier, there's going to be a swale. So it'll be actually lower than that. If rockfall, it'll hopefully hit the swale and not bounce up. But if it does, we have this barrier.
Yeah. So inside this swale will be this will be a swale, and then the cliff.
I think in 100 years, that swale will fill up with rocks.
I don't think so, but if it does, then we would make sure that we remove them. Yeah.
That was actually
break them up.
going to be a question, that as the rocks fall in there, is there a plan to clear them out? Because, as more, like you said, as rocks fall on top of rocks, they'll just explode and debris will fly. Curious if that's part of the plan.
Yeah, that certainly will be. We'll definitely keep a track of rocks ending up inside of there. One of the parts too is over the past 5 years since I've owned the property, we've actually seen very little rockfall. There hasn't been a sizable amount of rockfall. We haven't seen a significant volume of rocks falling. It seems overall quite stable, but occasionally there are rocks that come down as well.
I'm looking at the photo of existing conditions that's got on page 5 of the slide deck.
This one?
Yeah. The one that shows the lower right-hand corner with the Jersey barriers and a pile of rocks on the other side.
Yep.
What's that pile of rocks from?
Those were rocks that were moved there from cleaning up around the Jersey barriers and around the base of the cliff.
And the swale? Well, my basic question is, are all of the components of this design, including the swale, located on property you own?
Correct, yeah. So you can see on this plan, this exterior red line is the property line.
Oh, okay, that's what I was gonna ask. So what's that interior red line?
That is a 20-foot setback.
All right, and oh, yeah. Maybe I should I could have answered this if I looked at the big plan instead of the little ones. All right, and so the 5-foot swale
Yep, so the swale will exist.
is shown on the plans. It's much easier to see on the big plans.
And there's 2 pinch points where we're 5 feet from the property line.
Yeah.
Those are shown on the plan.
Right, yep.
Yeah, but that's approximately where the swale will exist.
All right, any questions from the board?
Yeah, and I think, and then this is actually a rendering of kind of what it will look like as well. One of the things to note is this is not visible from any residential properties, and is really only visible from the other commercial property next to us as well. And then just another copy of that slide about the variance.
The picture that showed the rendering,
Yep.
where was that taken? Can you orient me? Where on
yep.
the plan was that, like, what's that vantage point? Is that at the corner
yeah.
of the building?
Yeah, if you can see my mouse now, it's from approximately taken here, looking in this direction. So then you can see the new building in the background. This is the new building, and then this is the existing 20 center. Number 20 building.
The one that you're calling the new building, that's number 10?
That's number 30.
All right, then, I'm glad I asked. That's the one, oh yeah, sorry, 30, and that's the one that has the mesh on the cliff behind it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the mesh basically goes from this point to right about here. Yeah, one of the other things that's somewhat notable about this is the previous building that was there before that new building, number 30, was built there, actually extended about 20 feet further back and was almost tucked right underneath the cliff. So when we built that building, we brought the rear of the building forwards and then installed that cliff. Before, I was pretty shocked by how basically tucked underneath the cliff it was.
Brave.
Yeah. Apparently it was used for developing MRI systems, so they liked the fact that it was tucked into the cliff.
Oh, really?
So
That makes
something
sense.
actually had an odd benefit for them back in the 80s.
They didn't have to buy in as many lead panels that way.
No.
All right, any questions for the board?
I went through there today, and I think that this is the classic case of why you have a variance for a fence. That it actually is topography and protection of the, I mean, it's a tight space. Between the two buildings, as I was coming in, a guy was running from one building to the next. But, I could see how close that is to the parking, and I think that looks to me to be like a good solution.
Yeah, and I think importantly, similarly to the last case, we want to try and maximize parking so we don't end up having parking on the street. So this also does a great job of not taking up any parking spots and making sure that we conform to any parking requirements.
And people won't see it at all.
No.
They'll park out front. front.
Yeah.
Let me ask, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for a variance at 20 through 30 Sonar Drive? How does the board wish to proceed?
Make a motion to grant the variance?
Second.
All in favor?
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
I will make one final point. If you have an opportunity, knock on David's door and get a tour of the facility. I went on a tour with Mayor Concanon and Councilor Papalato at the beginning of the summer. Very, very impressive to see this type of business operating in the city of Woburn. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, the business that operates on the site is called Renscott, and as Joe mentioned, we do manufacturing for kind of critical industries, and we're also kind of an unusual business in that we are a manufacturing business that's made up of mostly younger people, so bringing younger people into manufacturing, and our average age is 29, so probably close to half of that of the average age in manufacturing, and we're working on a bunch of very cool projects like new rockets and stuff like that. So,
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
if you ever want to visit,
All right,
just
yeah,
let me know.
you'll-
Thank you.
Oops, sorry. The next item on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes from our September meeting. I have already provided the clerk with some markups and edits. Does anybody have any other corrections they want to make?
I do not.
I do not.
Then I'd ask for a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes as revised by the chair?
Second.
All in favor of the pending motion?
Aye.
All right, that passed. I'm not aware that there's any other matter that may legally be before the board right now, so I would ask for our motion to adjourn until our November meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.